All right, I should be live. And as usual, I want to do a little voice check at the beginning of these. I'm still tinkering with the audio. In fact, that's partly the purpose for today. See what you guys think of everything from the mic filter. I'm going to be testing keyboard and mouse up in the upcoming days. I don't actually have the keyboard installed right yet. But we are going to be trying to focus on making sure that the audio portion of these is strong. I know the video is going to be strong. I have a strong internet connection for streams. I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to stream at, I don't know if you can stream at 4K someday, but at some point or other we'll be trying to stream at 4K. Hopefully you guys have a strong internet connection. We can have some 4K high definition streams. I'm not really quite sure what the capacity is of YouTube for things like that. So let me know in the comments if the music is too loud or the game sounds. Actually, I already know I need to adjust the game sounds. In my experience in the past, somewhere around 50% volume is optimal. That way, when this guy's yelling his commands like he has Tourette's, you guys can still hear me narrating in the background. This little side campaign, like a lot of you guys, I'm just sort of farting around with a couple different save games. I'm like that guy who's got 6 cars in his garage and always doing a little bit of tinkering. I don't know a huge amount about the Mercenary stage, and some guys have pointed out some things. And so I've been sort of playing around with various different things, essentially trying to make money, right? That's the main thing I've been trying to do as a mercenary. I find it fascinating that you can just rake in gold by especially winning battles that are difficult with tactics. Of course, you guys know that's what we focus on the channel is tactics. So I did have a save game here. It did seem like the Northern Empire and the Southern Empire were at war. Village battle. Folks want to see some village battles. We could try to get a village battle. I've got my laptop open so I can glance over at the chat every once in a while and see if you guys got requests for stuff. But obviously throughout a lot of the game, it's going to be difficult for me to pay too close attention to the chat. Difficult already to play this complex game and watch the chat as well. But these Northern Empire fucks are sieging down this castle. And I think we'll just start with I guess we'll consider it a run-of-the-mill castle defense. I mean, who knows how it'll go here, right? Like, I guess we could always lose. I remember the very first practice stream I did, we got absolutely butchered, and it was hilarious. I felt like the biggest moron. I was like, well, this should work. And then we got butchered, and then we tried something else, and I was like, well, all right, fellas, this will work. And then it was like I tried one thing after another, and everything failed. And I was pretty humbled by it. It was interesting to experience that kind of failure. But failure makes you stronger. I don't suspect we're going to fail in the defense of this castle here. Chanopsis castle here. The Northern Empire's got a couple armies sieging it. This is almost instinctual. I do this before every episode because I still get every once in a while some guys like, what difficulty are you on? I try to flash that basically before every battle, just because there are some guys out there. First, it's strange to me that they even care, but they evidently do care. We're not going to do that. Well, yeah, I guess we will. I wasn't quite paying attention. I think we broke in, right? We want to have a siege defense here, so hopefully we broke in. I don't actually care like what difficulty people are playing at, although I presume. What did I do here? I might have fucked up royally. For some reason, we're outside the city. So here's a perfect example. We're definitely going to, I'd say we're definitely going to lose this battle. I guess we're going to try to win this battle. I have no idea what's going on. I was sure I broke into the castle and tried to help defend. I wonder, what did I do? I must have sallied out there. Let me see. You see how difficult it is streaming sometimes. You lose your train of thought and the next thing you know. So that was like, yeah, it's like a bad dream. You sally out and then the next thing you know, you're butchered. All right, so we're going to break in here and start this episode with a little bit of a debauchery castle defense. All right, I think we're inside now. The forces have begun their assault. All right, here, a little castle defense. So it's interesting. We'll definitely have some humble pie. Of course, the guys that watch the channel on a regular basis, some of the battles you're seeing, those are 1 in 5 or 1 in 10. Of the actual battles that I have, right? We definitely get our shit pushed in. We lose battles. we experience crashes and all the other wonderful things that are part of Bannerlord. I do have this ability. This is a nice little thing. I've talked about it plenty. Just the RTS mod, so that we're not boring the hell out of you fellas. Everybody's time is valuable. I don't know if there's going to be 10 people today. Hey, it says 29 people watching. That's awesome. I will eventually. I'll have streams where I can like talk to individual fellas and call you out by names. But today I'm just focused on playing again. Not planning on too much or too complicated things for this stream. Again, this is just a mercenary campaign, so we're helping these dipshit Southern Empire forces win this siege. And I don't anticipate too many difficulties. Part of this is to test out the audio. Of course, we're still going to enact some tactics here. We're going to try some different things. I've never defended this castle as a mercenary, right? So I have no idea how this is. I have no idea how this is going to go. And we're going to be belligerent. We're going to act a little crazy in some of these defenses. I won't be accessing that menu, by the way, unless you guys really ask for it during sieges. I'm just holding it down right now. Just because whether it's the campaign or even just streams like this, I like to have a little bit of suspense to not know whether or not we're going to be successful in a siege, right? I like to basically play along with you fellas. Anybody who's watching is sort of either rooting for our army or you want to see us lose or whatever it is. To me, that's one of the more interesting aspects of the game, is that you do have that little power bar up top there, but that doesn't really mean that much, right? Like, it can change as reinforcements come in, and it doesn't always give you a very clear picture of what's going on. So, as is often the case when you're a mercenary, right, what you want to do is you definitely want to have an army that's heavy in archers, right? You're going to have, your allies going to have plenty of infantry. In this case, they have plenty of militia. I'm a bit of a sadist, and I can't help it sometimes. Don't worry, for the campaign, I won't be fucking around too bad killing our own troops. But sometimes I enjoy that shit, so, we'll see how that goes. Maybe if you guys all think it's stupid, maybe if it's unanimous, like people think it's stupid, then I won't fuck around with that stuff. But I do like throwing the occasional javelin into my own troops or into the allies' troops. We can increase the death level. Right, we can increase there's a mod called Death for All, where we can increase the death that all of the nobles experience on the battlefield, and then it'd be really interesting to see what happens, when you intentionally throw javelins into the face of troops on the battlefield, right, your own or otherwise. I may talk a little bit about some of my plans for the campaign here. I have made some final decisions. I've actually started to make a little bit of a trailer for the campaign, just because I love video editing, as a lot of you guys know, and so I'll probably cover that a little bit today. But again, mostly this is to sort of sort out some of my sound issues. Right, I've got kind of a questionable mic. I do have a fancy mic with the whole mounted, fucking thing where you look like a radio shock jock or whatever the fuck they're called. I'm not quite using that yet. I'm still using the headset. I probably shouldn't have told you guys. I'm trying to use it at least one more day here to see if I can sort of sneak this by, adjust the settings a little bit, and have it come up with a quality that you guys are okay with. Because, of course, this is much preferable to me than having a big microphone stuck in my face where I feel less comfortable. I'm sure at some point or other, if I do that enough, I will become more comfortable with a big radio, a big microphone stuck in my face. But as of yet, I'm not particularly comfortable. So die, you bastard, here. We're going to throttle this Southern Empire force, or this Northern Empire force. Part of the reason I'm fucking around here, and I should probably move on already, is I don't actually think we have to do anything here to win this siege. Unfortunately, there was enough defenders in here that this wasn't really going to amount to a tangibly difficult siege defense. Once this battle wraps up, I will look for some real challenges for our army, and we will definitely tempt fate with some difficult challenges in today's episode. I'm not afraid to be captured, and I'm also not afraid to reload a save game if things are going like shit. Right? We will definitely be, fucking around a little bit today, playing a little bit more reckless than normal. But I also tend to play reckless, whether it's the campaign or whether it's just, streaming like today. So I'll take a break after this battle, take a look at the comments, see if you guys have any specific requests for battles. Again, we're playing Mercenary role for this episode. That doesn't mean that I'm opposed to going out to the custom battle menu, but we may... Looks like I'm not paying that close attention here. Looks like some of our archers are getting butchered over there. It's actually good if the enemy mounts somewhat of an assault here. In fact, I'm going to start setting up for this like we are fucked. Like there's going to be a huge enemy breach here. I don't know if I can even recover at this stage because I haven't been paying that close attention, but we will try to. Let's see, I got these archers up here, so I want an infantry division kind of up here helping these guys. And now let's start getting some forces pulled back. We will set up some forces here defensively. I better turn this up just a bit. I know some guys have a difficult time with it. I prefer this being on the lower level. I hate the big glowing orb above their head, but especially with these kingdoms, I probably should look for more battles against like Valandi and stuff like that, where the colors will be more obvious for you fellas. Obviously, this is going to be considerably more difficult for you guys to see. We just got a huge amount of archer reinforcements in. Let's use these guys here. I smell a lord that wants a javelin. GH shit looks like. Let's get our archers here. I'm having a little difficulty basically trying to figure out how much to use the fast forward, right? I started to use it, and unfortunately it becomes kind of addicting because every time you're like, oh, I'm 4 feet away from the stairs, let's just use that shit. So eventually I'll learn how to modulate that so it's not too jarring for you fellas, but at the same time saving the time, right? Like I'm not going to do it every 2 seconds like that. I think it'll be really jarring for you fellas. I'll probably use it when it's really obvious that it's necessary. Say we're defending or we attack somebody and they're on the other side of the map, we'll use it to speed our way over there. But for the most part, I will probably use it somewhat conservatively. I won't be using it a ton, both in streaming and the actual campaign. I do plan on editing some in the campaign, especially bandit fights and tournaments. I might fight a couple tournaments, but I really can't imagine that people want to actually see other players kind of stagger their way through tournaments. I don't know. That's another thing. Feel free to add feedback. Again, these are all set so that the live chat is visible. I think it's 24 hours. For some reason, it takes 24 hours for the live chat to be available after the stream is over. The stream then acts like a normal episode, and I guess what I mean by that is fellas can watch this episode tonight, with it all on demand and fast forward and rewind and all that shit, or whatever you young kids call that when you're going forward or backwards or whatever it is. Get our horse up the wall here, and again, you see I get addicted to the fast speed, so I will probably have to make some adjustments here so that I'm not just putting you guys into a seizure with a constant rate change. But it is a very nice feature, this RTS mod. I'm definitely really enjoying the speed feature, and obviously for a campaign it's fairly indispensable, where your character gets knocked unconscious and the next thing you know you're just trucked. This mod really is a lifesaver for Bannerlord, and I say this not to troll the console fellas so much as maybe to say, hey, save some money, man, get yourself a $700 PC and play Bannerlord on a PC, because it's just a totally different game, right? From realistic weather to the RTS mod, RBM, etc. People ask all the time, since there's not a whole lot going on here, I'm just going to ramble about various different things. I'm still at the tail end of the half-life of my caffeine, so my mind is just whirring. People ask me on a regular basis kind of what kind of PC I have, what are the specs. My PC was about 1500 new. That was about a year ago. It's got an RTX 4060 Super or something like that. It's kind of a middle to upper tier graphics card. I think this graphics card's probably a $200 or $300 card today. And I'm running at 4K at 60 frames per second, or at least close to that. It's very rare that we get, any kind of uncomfortable frame rates with stuff, even with the realistic battle mod or with the banners, the battle size mod, right, which is 2,000 units on the battlefield. It's still pretty consistently smooth. This battle is totally over. I kind of want this battle to end. I might even go offensive here just to make this fucking battle. Oh, if I try to X out, it'll say, you want to surrender? And no, I don't want to surrender. I want this fucking battle to end. Because this is not all that interesting for me, and so I'm sure you guys aren't all that interested. Fortunately, there we go. Our dipshit opponent finally routed. So I'll wrap up that point about the PC here. Enemy is fleeing. We'll see what kind of mercenary shit we get here, and then I'll finish that point about the PC. So mercenary again, 39 renown. I can't remember exactly how much it is. I think you get it either based on influence or renown. You can see again. This is how clearly my knowledge at this stage of the game for this portion of the game, mercenary is not that high. I'm excellent at tactics and mediocre at my understanding on game mechanics. I think it's influence, if my memory serves me right. You get like 200 gold per influence. So what is that, like 16,000, right? Is that my math right? Anyways, there's a bunch of influence. We get half the loot. That's pretty tasty. Everybody's happy, even though this is obviously a pretty ordinary battle for us here. We will move it right along. Pick up some loot here. Take some prisoners. Yeah, come with us. For the campaign, I will be taking prisoners. Anybody who watched my deathmatch campaign against all 8 kingdoms, that was kind of one of the ground rules I set, is I wasn't taking prisoners. So that was obviously amplifying things and making it even more difficult because the enemy lords would just immediately spawn back at their castles and start rampaging with full armies. Obviously, that made the campaign, I don't want to say impossible, but near impossible, right? Anybody who watched that, the onslaught became immense. So we'll wander here a little bit. We'll look for some targets of opportunity. Let's see who we're at war with here. Okay. For some reason or other, we're at war with Britannia. I better take a look at the chat. I said I would check in on the chat to see if you guys have specific requests, places you want me to defend. I saw a village battle. I didn't see who it was from. I apologize. I will definitely learn more of your fellas' names the more comfortable with this, the more I do this. I don't know where we're going to fight. I'm probably just going to look for targets of opportunity. But the computer, I really do think, so my computer, $1,500 computer, I really do think you could play Bannerlord at a fairly good graphic level and a fairly smooth level for 600, 700, 800, right? Somewhere in that range for a desktop. I would not bother with a laptop. Almost always you get more bang for your buck with the desktop. Of course, that means you also have to have a monitor. I'm aware of that. Even a decent like 1444p monitor these days. Why the fuck are we so slow? Oh, I see. I'm overburdened and I'm about to get trucked by a huge Western Empire force. Let's dump some shit here. All that loot, right? We got a massive amount of loot, of course, from that battle. But I think even a $500, $600, $700 computer, you know what? We could try a crazy battle at Popsia. You guys would probably love to see me take 144 against. That would be insane. They'd be outnumbered 5-1. I wish I had a small Southern Empire force here because I would definitely engage outnumbered 5-1, right? Fuck it. That's like our motto. I don't give a fuck. We've got a good army here. There's a lot of archers too, right? 36 master archers. This character was Aserai in nature. So he started with lots of Aserai characters. We've got a bunch of mediocre ass companions. And I think this would be suicide. Actually, it would be suicide. Look at their ranged units. If they were infantry, we might give this a shot. But against like 400 archers, you know, you're just going to have 5 quivers in the back of every single one of your troops. But Popsia is a village I think we'll look to defend next, unless I see another comment. Again, I'm just kind of glancing over there every once in a while. That is something I want to take up. Popsia is a really interesting village to defend, and I find it to be one of the most defendable villages. There are certainly better villages for defense. These fucks are picking on this castle. I'm not going to bother with another defense there. Although, I guess if there were like 1,500 people sieging Chanopsis, we would have, you know, a real epic siege, and I might engage. Like if another big Western Empire force comes along, maybe we'll head back there. So I want some speed. I want to be able to make sure I can chase some guys down, at least some medium-sized armies here. So we're still pretty overburdened. This is actually, you know, victim of our own success. We got so much loot in all these different battles. A couple of them are upcoming episodes. I won't blow too much I won't spoil too much for you fellas in case you kind of enjoy the process. But effectively, I played Mercenary for a few more battles in this series. I'm literally just dumping all this equipment on the roadside here so we can move faster. But we got so much loot from these 3 or 4 battles as mercenaries that I couldn't even sell it all at like 3 towns in a row. It was like every town I went to, there was, we took all their gold, right? In other words, it was saying, well, I guess our troops are leveling up. That's the benefit there. It was like, well, there isn't any more gold here anyways, which highlights one of the problems, especially in the late game. You just get so much gold that it just becomes kind of insane. There's also not a lot of use for that gold. I still get people who are like, 15 million gold, dude, you must be cheating, exploits and shit like that. And I'm like, come on, man, I've had 60 million gold. Once you get to the late game, gold becomes kind of irrelevant. I guess if you have that perk where you can buy kingdoms and shit like that. Oh, here we go. Damn, I wonder if I can make them engage me here. This we would try. Oh shit, what's happening here? I think that's the Empress. Come on, attack. Well, and part of me doesn't want her to attack at the same time. What do they got? They got mostly infantry. Let's fucking do it. Fuck it. You guys want to see a gnarly challenge, right? Let's do this shit. This guy's definitely going to turn on me. Yeah, come get some. All right, we'll do a little suicide mission here for you fellas today. So I'll focus on this. I will get back to the chat in a second, but we'll do a really difficult battle here. We got our 144. I didn't even upgrade troops there. That was kind of dumb. I probably could have grabbed a couple last-second prisoners. Let me sit up straight in my chair for this shit because this shit's on. I like challenges. If you guys are obviously aware at this stage, we've got no fear, and obviously we are pretty seriously outgunned here. 68 legionary, right? So this is probably suicide. They don't have a huge amount of cavalry, and we have a lot of archers here. So what are we going to do, fellas? You guys probably know already. Depending on the landscape, we're definitely going to try a kill box. Are we using 5-6 divisions? Hopefully it lets me set up pre-battle. It keeps dumping me in there. It's not the best landscape for it, but there's definitely open space over here, so we're going to give this a shot here. Obviously, kill box is where you surround the enemy the enemy vanguard with multiple divisions of archers, skirmishers. We don't have a massive amount of archers. We've got 90. So it's a little bit, again, like trying to surround a great white shark in the ocean with your friends, right? If the 4 of you all get around it, you have a chance, right? Actually, no. The shark kills you, kills your friends. But we're still going to try this shit. Let's do it. Fuck it. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if I have enough crossbow even for a real crossbow division. They're going to have heavy cav. They're going to have Imperial Elite cataphracts as well. So that's going to be problematic. I'm not sure what's going to happen also if I lose this. If I lose this battle, I might just pop the old save game, right? You guys don't need to see me run around recruiting level 2 recruits and fighting bandits and running around from city to city loading up on troops again. I mean, we could do that. I guess I'll glance over at the chat box to see how many people want to see sort of the recovery process. But how about we focus on winning first? Let's win, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do if we lose, when we lose, if we lose, right? We'll do the old positive thinking with our tiny army here against a massive force. All right. Oh, let's slow this shit down. Focus a little bit. I feel like I'm close to my character. I don't know if that is... Doesn't feel like I have the normal... I guess that's the maximum distance. It feels like I'm really close. I don't know what you fellas think. All right, let's see how many cavalry they got. They've got 39 on that wing and 26 on this wing. Of course, very early on in this process, it's going to be vital that we kill their cavalry. I'll be running the 6th Corps over here on our right, the 5th in the center with the 1st Infantry Division. So we'll be kiting, but early on we are going to make sort of some occasional stands against their cavalry. And what I mean by that is brief moments where we stop to sort of fight their cavalry. If you just perpetually kite against cavalry, obviously you know what happens. They just run you down like dogs, and you have a very bad day. Get in here and try to fuck up some of these horse archers. I still struggle sort of going from character to character with my javelins, right? Because I'm used to Zuvan in one episode, and then I'll come out with this guy. This guy's not even killing guys with javelins. He's just kind of knocking them around, right? He's got whatever perk that is that knocks the dudes over, which is helpful here still, but not nearly as effective as it would be if we were if we were one-shotting guy after guy. Like, I'd love to one-shot these guys running 100 miles an hour at us. All right, cavalry coming into our archers, so we'll try to counter here. I don't have my normal amount of cavalry to sort of slow down their force. I like when I hit them for 5 and they die. That's a good sign, right? That guy must have been badly injured. So one thing we won't be doing with our infantry is any kind of shield wall, right? We just can't afford it. We're definitely going to be kiting hard on all 4 sides. And the early stages of a battle like this are vital, right? If I can cause some major damage to their vanguard, slow down their cavalry, then we've got an outside shot to win this. It's definitely an outside shot, though. Their infantry division is so big that it spans like almost the whole battlefield. I do have a handful of horse archers, but at the same time, they've got tons of cavalry running through, spearing guys, slowing down our archers, stabbing them in the face. Oh, I just realized another thing I don't have. I don't have any banners, so they're moving on us pretty quick. That's a vital component of a good kill box is speed, right? Otherwise, eventually, you get pressed to the very back of the map, and obviously, you end up in a situation where you simply can't kite, right? You're out of space, and this lack of speed here might be fatal. We shall see. Let's try to get the fourth around behind the enemy. If we can start getting some troops behind him, we got maybe the smallest chance. They are starting to fishball a little bit. That gives me a little bit of hope. Fucking assholes. Fucking Southern Empire. Or Northern or Western Empire motherfuckers. I don't have a lot of skirmishers either. You know, optimally for a battle like this where I was doing essentially this kind of a kill box. I would love to have skirmishers, right? Now, they've fishballed real bad. You guys can see what's going on here. In fact, we can do this every once in a while. Let's just do this shit. Watch this. Right? You can really see the fishball. I rarely do this, but, we'll do this every once in a while for the streams, right? These can act as much as instructional as they for anything else. The enemy typically exhibits this kind of behavior when they start being pounded with projectiles. So in this case, even though our infantry divisions and archer divisions are tiny, over there in the woods, you can't see them very well. That's our 6th. Yeah, our 6th is a mix of skirmishers and archers. And I say skirmishers, we don't have a lot of skirmishers, right? I have a handful of the Aserai veteran infantry, so that'll help a little bit. But again, we still have this great white shark in the middle here. This is a problem, right? Because you run out of javelins, you run out of arrows, you run out of bolts. And there's, 60-something legionaries in here, right? These guys are not going to be easy to kill. So even with this formation, at this stage, I would call this victory normally. If we were fighting a normal opponent with good banners, with good companions, this battle would be over. But there's a huge amount of them. Way off in the distance, you can see archers. They're harassing they're harassing our skirmishers and archers. So this is going to still be difficult, but we'll see what we can do here, right? We have a lot of master archers, and the benefit of master archers and other tier 4, tier 5 archers is they have a lot of ammo, right? Now, one thing you want the enemy to start doing is basically having a seizure. What'll happen in a battle like this is the enemy will really start having a hard time trying to figure out what to do. And it's effectively the AI is kind of gotten broken, right? The AI gets sort of tripped up. Sometimes people, when they watch this, they're like, well, that's an exploit, right? You're just, you're taking advantage of the bad AI. Fellas, and I'm not speaking to you guys, understand. I'm referring to guys who say that. I'm like, you understand that this is almost always PvE, and so almost every single time that you're playing, inherently, you're essentially taking advantage of bad AI, right? That's literally the name of the game. So, yes, you're correct. Should do something about this cavalry here while we've got them fishballed. So, absolutely. Are we taking advantage of the AI? No question. That's just how it's going to be, right? Well, this is the advantage we have. We are outnumbered 3-1, and they have a pretty strong force. So am I going to take advantage of the AI? Sure. Now, am I going to, some guys at this stage will be like, you're out of ammo. Just reload the battle, man. Fight it another day. We won't do that, right? That's not something you'll see me do. I won't do that even for streams, right? And you're definitely not going to do that for the campaign. I want to play with the challenge of it. I'm not just going to reload battles because we're out of ammo. And sort of attain victory with cheese like that. We're going to try to fight this legitimately, even though it does still look very difficult because these guys are boring in. These guys are near the back of the map. In this situation, you kind of want to start to triangulate them to get the fuck out of there, right? If these guys are going to get trapped back there, you need to sort of find them an exit path. Fortunately, the enemy is slow here because they're holding up their shields. We'll get our 6th. Who's that way over there? That's our first. Let's bring the first. These guys are really pinned here. They're probably fucked. And if you don't have speed banners, one of the problems too is once the enemy reaches you, you're really in a bad shape because those guys can't get away. If you have even a 10 or 20% speed banner, those guys can get away. When you have no speed banner, those guys really are fucking dead men. And obviously it goes from the enemy being in a big fishball to them being in a big murderous group, right? No longer are they fishballed. They are in a position just to massacre your troops. Still not going to give up yet. The fat lady hasn't sung yet, even though it definitely looks grim. The fat lady would be warming up her voice here if this was if that analogy was playing out here. Right? The enemy still has a solid 350 troops. We don't have any speed. It's also given me UI difficulties. This is just a feature of the game. You can tell guys to go over here, and if there's one cavalry out there, that guy will basically trigger your force to attack, which is obviously, for this situation, is a disaster. Right? That's very bad news for us. Let's see if we can't buckle down here. Probably one of the ways we're going to have to win here is I'm going to have to really start getting fairly reckless at my fighting. Right? If I can kill some of these lords and or some of their cavalry, then maybe, just maybe, we can wear them down. Obviously, one of the big advantages you have in a battle like this is that the enemy archers are not really a big threat. However, they are slowly moving up, right? They're very slowly moving up. And it's starting to become a problem. I also don't have any cavalry. Normally you want some cavalry to be able to fly in there and basically provide a block so that the enemy doesn't just have nothing but your archers to shoot at. They're really pushing in hard on those guys. See if these guys can get out of there. And of course, anytime outnumbered this bad, the enemy's closing in on our infantry, those guys are pretty close to fucked. I don't think I'm going to be able to get them out. Their archers have now full out moved up, which is obviously very disastrous for us right now. All these guys are effectively infantry. I'm reduced to squaring that infantry, which is suicide, right? Those guys are now going to get chased down. Their archers are advancing and shooting at us here, right? There's only so many heads I can lop off myself. This would be one of the more unique kill boxes if somehow we can win this. Probably can't, and I do realize this is sucking up a lot of time. I apologize for that if you fellas are just like, come on, man. We know the kill box. You've already shown that 100 times. These are the kind of things that I like sort of attempting live, because there are plenty of people who sort of think that it's contrived or illegitimate or something like that. These are badass tactics to do. You guys can definitely learn this with practice. And obviously, one of the issues we're having, look up at the ammunition bar. We're almost out of ammo, right? In a battle like this, you just simply run out of ammo. There's only so many arrows you have. Some of our units only had one quiver to begin with. They're going to charge and eat that sixth. In fact, all the infantry is just standing there. They're having javelins thrown at their spleen and shit. Fifth is almost out of arrows. You know, we're pretty close to considering an all charge. The problem is the AI does a pretty good job of charging when there's like one target to destroy. Like if you're in a situation like this and you tried, well, hey, let's do a sneaky everybody charge the enemy all at once here, just doesn't work because the AI sort of senses when it's being mauled and attacked by multiple directions, and it does a pretty adequate job of saying, okay, I must attack this threat right here. It's like a cat where there's a mouse right next to it. It says, I better kill this thing that's right here in front of me. And obviously in that situation, any of these troops, if these guys get enveloped by this force, they will die in like, I don't know, I want to say 10 seconds, right? Any of these divisions, hence why I'm sort of dragging this out. I probably can't win this battle. I should probably just concede loss here. But I also like a challenge, so we're just going to push this a little further. There's a handful of guys that have arrows left. The enemy is still fishballed. I still occasionally see and hear a guy getting shot. You know, there's one Battanian Fiend Champ there. Maybe that guy can shoot the whole enemy army to death. Probably not. But man, this is the kind of battle that'd be sweet to win, right? And every time I go through, I'm doing half a damage on one guy. I got almost a full health bar, and people are probably wondering, how the fuck do you take so low damage? I better spend a second on that, especially if someone's watching, hasn't seen any of these episodes from this campaign. Unbelievably, in this campaign, I fought a minor clan, like literally the kind of thing you fight. Everybody else fights in their campaign when they have 70, 80 troops, and I chased this guy down. He had just fought one of our units, and this fucking guy dropped one of the best pieces of armor in the whole game, right? It was this, I'm starting to sense like a change here. I don't know about you guys, but the enemy's really frustrated. It's almost like they're going to rage quit, throw their fucking controller on the ground here. I wish they didn't have as many legionnaires, because we would definitely try to charge here. We would try to do a square infantry and then charge here. I think I'm going to do that anyways soon. Oh, that guy did the old, I got an arrow here, I can save my life and duck. Anyways, finish that point. So we found this character, anyways. This guy found, it's tier 6 armor legendary at this stage of the game, which is, I've never heard of that before. Like, that's kind of unbelievable, but it happened. And what's ironic, of course, is I'm not going to be playing this campaign out, right? I'm not going to continue this campaign, even though this guy got loot like a lot of players would fucking kill for. I'm just not going to play it out. Very close to just fucking saying fuck it. But I've kind of got this force reeling, right? They're definitely suffering some losses. They're still shooting at us occasionally. They've got a bit of a fishbowl, and of course we're totally out of ammo. You can see all of our fucking troops are just holding their shield up. But I think we will try. We're not going to let them charge like that, though, that's for sure. Let's get the 6th moved up behind him. You know what? They're splitting. Let's see if we can't kill this side over there. Their force sort of broke, which is unusual. They typically don't do this. They're broke, but we're broken. Like, our formations are really broken up here. And of course, momentum's a big factor with Bannerlord, right? If you're moving forward and your enemy's backpedaling, it usually is advantage enemy, right? Let's try this shit. Look at how few troops we have. God, we got very, very few troops. I think, in fact, one of our units either got destroyed or routed there. And so this battle is virtually over. Fuck it. As Bill O'Reilly once said, right, we'll do it live. I mean, maybe I could spend the next hour just going through here, cutting these guys down till they routed, but I'm pretty sure you guys aren't interested in seeing a stream of that. I mean, I've got this one little infantry division. If I had like 10 more archers at all, even 10 more, this battle would be in our favor, I think. But I think we lose this battle here. And there's a stage, of course, at a battle like this where you could rout. You could effectively run away, and you'd have the ability to try to get away and stuff like that. But we've got the old save game. I realize it's going to take a minute or two to reload this game. Anyways, you guys get the gist of a kill box there. Had we a few more archers, or maybe they had a few less legionnaires, this is a battle we could have definitely won. I'll take a minute here while we're reloading the save game here to see if there are any requests. But to finish that point, I'm famous for interrupting myself. So this guy, part of the reason he's like indestructible here, fighting lords, and he's the last guy on the field, is that this guy has the best armor in the game, right? And of course, even though it doesn't make any sense, if you were captured in a battle like this, they would just take your armor. You get to keep that armor like the rest of the campaign, right? You never lose your armor. I understand that's something that would piss people off if they found really nice armor and of course they just lost it. That would infuriate guys. But there's also some realism there too, right? What happens when we take a lord prisoner, right? We get all their fucking loot and shit like that and live happily ever after. It seems odd that it's not the other way around. So we'll check out the Samira Castle defense. Yes and no. So I just had a defense there today. I'm probably going to make it an episode that I'm going to release in the upcoming week. I'm going to take a week off, fellas, probably 8-9 days off, actually. No playing. I might not even comment too much, just focus on real life for a while. I do have a handful of episodes that are scheduled to go on YouTube, right? They'll be released on a regular basis and you'll have, if not daily content, every other day. I'll try to punch something out every single day or every other day. And one of those is Castle Defense of Samira Castle. Now, Samira Castle is definitely one of the most interesting castle defenses, but it's also one of the most strangely positioned castles. It's basically in the middle of fucking nowhere, way on the eastern portion of the map, and so it has absolutely no strategic value. It's kind of a shame because you have this really interesting castle that you can't really use, right? It's just sort of off the map for all. Oh shit! I think I just reloaded where he's captured. I apologize for the delay, fellas. Yeah, he's going to drag me around a little more. I'll fix this. I'm happy also to do some custom battles here. That's obviously the easiest way to instantly get battles people want to see. Have I ever done Calais Castle? I'm almost certain I have. At this stage, the Epic Siege playlist has about 20 episodes, and I think episode 3 of the Epic Siege series is Calais Castle. It's that one where there's two castles next to each other, correct? Where there's like a really cool bridge, like a wooden bridge between the two castles. If you want to see that one, check out the Epic Siege series. The Epic Siege series is getting pretty deep at this stage. I think it's maybe 16, 17, 18 sieges, and almost all of them are different and or unique cities, castles, and stuff like that. So the Epic Siege series, maybe someday we'll include like 80-90% of all the castles in the game. You say Samira defense. The only way I could do that is custom battles. So I'm certainly welcome or willing to fuck around with some of the custom battles. But like I said, since I have an episode covering Samira Castle like a week from now, I think I'll leave it for that. But it's coming up soon, there, brother. Andre, yeah, it's Andre requesting that. I appreciate the request, Andre. I hope I'm getting your name right. Obviously, this is a very international game, and I'm a highly westernized accent, right? I'm a Pacific Northwest fellas near Seattle, Washington. Of course, it's raining outside for all you guys used to the stereotypes. It's definitely, that is a thing. It's definitely raining. What is going on here? We're getting a castle siege. Let's run down here and see if this is interesting. Like I said, I'm just sort of looking for targets of opportunity. I'd love to have a battle at Samira, not Samira, at Popsia. I might run back to Popsia. We might do here. We might fight outside here. I don't know if I want this entire episode to be all about castle defenses. Maybe when they're down to, what kind of force do they have here? Infantry, cavalry, heavy, a lot of Ferris. It's a pretty strong army, actually. How many master archers they got? What do they got? 13. I think what I'll do is I'll wait until they're down to like 300 troops here, and we'll try to have an open field battle. Well, never mind. Now it's worth trying to get inside. What do you guys think? You guys down for another castle defense here with our mercenaries? We'll try to save this Southern Empire castle. There's 117 defenders in here and 1,100 attackers out there. So it would be difficult. At least it should be difficult. You never know on a castle siege, right? A lot of it depends on whether or not your ally just does incredibly dipshit things. Do a couple little upgrades here. These kind of things I'm definitely going to cover in the campaign, the Aserai campaign. What I'm planning on doing is every 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes, somewhere in that neighborhood, I will have what I consider sort of a housekeeping episode where I come in and I do perks, and it's going to be a slow episode, right? I'll play some music in the background that'll put you to sleep, and I will talk a little bit about some of my preferences for perks. A lot of guys want to see this. They want to know how I build companions and stuff like that. I do not profess to be an expert at this at all, but I can look at some of these things and say, okay, this makes sense, that doesn't make sense. It's always nice to save money, especially early in a campaign. Sometimes food is an issue. A lot of these are really, it doesn't really matter. They're so close that it doesn't really matter. And then there's other perks like this, right? This impale, this guy just picked it up. This 250 throwing, this is the top 5 perk in the game. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to create an episode like that, but I have thought about an episode that's basically like the 10 most important perks in Bannerlord, because there are some perks like this, right? Where this is the one where you throw javelins through shields and it just blows up guys, kills them in one shot. This is probably like one of the, if not the top perk in the game. It's way up there, right? Maybe this medicine skill. What's this one here? This one here. This is probably the best perk in the whole game. and a little teaser. I'm planning on the main character. Definitely developing medicine skill. He'll have a companion and/or a wife develop medicine skill. Because if you look at the math, right? That's all you need to know. As soon as you get to 275, plus 1 hit point for every troop on the battlefield. Well, normally your troops have 100-ish hit points, 120. If you get them to 330, which admittedly is difficult, but if you get your character to 330, we're talking 80 extra hit points, right? For your infantry, for your archers, for your cavalry. It's almost like an extra troop. It's at least like 50%. So if you have 200 troops and you have this perk maxed at 330, it's like having 300 troops and you're moving faster. So there are certain perks to me that are absolutely must-have perks. And undoubtedly, there's some perks that I just don't even know about where you guys are like, oh shit, this is a must-have perk. And it'll be interesting for me to learn that during the campaign. Of course, it'll also be interesting and it'll be good for everybody if you guys share that kind of stuff, right? Because guys come to the channel, I learn, they learn. We're all just one community of perfectionists here trying to get better at butchering people. All right, so we'll try here. We'll see if we get captured again. Maybe this will be another one of our ignoble, our ignominious failure episodes here. Like I said, the very first stream I did, we just got our ass kicked time after time. I have no idea what this castle looks like. I kind of think it's the one where it's sort of partitioned. There's a far end and a localized end on the right you can defend. Whatever the case, we will give this a shot. Yeah, that is what it is. And we've got tiny little short walls here against a massive angry Aserai force trying to take their castle back. All right, so let's use all 8 divisions here and let's start getting strategic. So the AI, of course, is going to get their archers massacred on the walls. We know this process, right? Effectively in this battle, we are going to be fighting almost alone. It's almost like 150 versus 1,200. The AI will do a little bit of damage early in this battle, but I can't expect them to do a lot of damage at all, right? They're going to do minimal damage. 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 infantry divisions. I don't even have enough infantry divisions to do a secondary square. Eventually, we will be putting a square somewhere in here. In fact, I'm going to start prepping these guys. I'm almost going to prepare like our ally is not here. And any opportunities that we have that where our ally helps us a little bit, maybe we'll try to take advantage of that. Based on the initial setup here, I expect to lose. Full disclaimer. Almost all of these where you have an ally and you have like what do we have, 1/10 of the guys on the battlefield. Look at this shit. We're getting absolutely flamed by arrows, right? They're just firing thousands of arrows at us. And that's our ally is going to be up there just making those sounds as they get shot to pieces. Almost every single place there are archers on our side here, they're going to get scorched. And bad things are going to happen. Now, this is interesting. This is not normally available when you get to Tier 3. And this does highlight sort of one of the really cool aspects of Bannerlord. There's a lot of aspects of Bannerlord that are trash, where they fucked up diplomacy or the AI. You know, people can complain about the AI. Everything from, they'll give you peace 1 minute, which is still kind of diplomacy. They'll give you peace literally 1 moment, and then the next moment you can just kill their empress, and later on they're like, yeah, sure, we'll take peace. It's all highly illogical and robotic. I don't know if that's because it's too hard to code or Tail Worlds just did a shit job of it. But this is cool. Castles and cities are variable. So you'll get a castle. These buildings here, you can't step on. This building I'm on right now doesn't even exist on a Tier 3 of this castle, which is, that's a little bit of a, I'm sneaking in a little something for the Samira, the Andre, your request for Samira. Samira is for sure one of the most interesting castles in part because the Tier 4 version of Samira, or Tier 4, the Tier 2 version of Samira I think is better than the Tier 3, which that should never be the case. But once you see the episode, I think it'll make sense. Look at this. I can put guys like literally up the stairs of these huts and shit like that. So maybe we'll try a highly unorthodox defense here. We'll try a full-on courtyard defense here, even though we're going to have no help. And I can't get down there. And you get these little snafus, too. Some castles, you can just jump right down. Obviously, this one, for whatever reason, the game just, like, I don't know, it's got the anti-suicide hotline number on it. It won't let you jump. Little frustrating things like that. But that also can't shock people, given the nature of that there's something like 60, 70 unique cities and or castles, a couple hundred villages. There's going to be some layers of just snafus, right? There's line of sight issues. Ooh, we got a fire catapult. That might be a highly beneficial thing to pay attention to early on here. Let's see, we got a second and first. I've got some javelins, right? There's a few legionnaires in there as well. Let's see what we can do here. Again, probably a no-win. You guys are probably like, all right, enough disclaimers. We get it. It's difficult. We will do our best here. So again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but Samira Castle, like if you're in a campaign right now and you're thinking about upgrading it to tier 3 walls, don't, especially if you're planning on fighting there and defending there. Now, that said, that's an unlikely thing because this is, as I already said, this is a castle that's way out of the, it's way out of the normal area, right? You're not going to be fighting at Samira unless you get like chased down in an odd circumstance. But Samira Castle, highly unique for defense. I can't figure out where these fireballs are. I know they're blasting guys though. Throw a few rocks here, cause some concussions. This castle we have actually covered before on the channel. Courtyard defense does a pretty decent job here. It's a lot harder when you have half the troops on the battlefield and the other half, of course, are being controlled by an AI that needs that suicide hotline, right? It's just got its guys on the walls, just getting massacred left and right. We're going to try to cause as many concussions here as we can. This guy's helping me, I think. What are you doing, dude? Throw your rock, motherfucker. Out of the way then. Shit or get off the pot. If you're not going to use it. Our ally, at least, is doing a decent job. Going to hold down some of the walls for a bit. But against the forces we're arrayed against here, this is going to be gnarly. I better make sure I got my 4th corps ready to go. Yeah, I got javelins for you. That's one of my favorite death sounds. The old scream like that. It just sounds like it hurts. Where is this fucking 4th guy? Oh, that's right. I had them around the corner there. I might need them there. We just don't have a lot of troops. Let's expose these guys as well as we can to all these archers. Should get on my horse here. Here, boy. All right, let's bring this 4th corps up. Those guys can be throwing javelins left and right. Our ally's probably going to totally collapse on this side down here. I don't anticipate good things happening. We'll keep an eye on that. I've got a little bit of a contingency plan for that. We will send the 4th there. I've got this 2nd corps, so I've got all these archers corps, and we're basically just trying to figure out the best possible way to cause the most amount of death with the smallest amount of resources, right? That's virtually any difficult siege is going to be the same setting, the same setup. And I don't have my normal huge amount of javelins. We'll probably get the old friendly fire kill any moment now. These guys have 87 arrows in their shields. And these palace guards we need to kill. And you guys just stand there like dipshits. I love the Aserai forces still have the English accent, right? The die, you bastard. I wish they did a little bit more with the voice acting, right? It would be awesome. I don't know how it would be. Like, some guys, of course, would not like it, but it'd be really interesting if the game actually had all the different languages, right? Like, if isn't Tale Worlds somewhere, I want to say it's in Turkey or something like that. It would be really cool if there is Arabic voice actors for the Aserai, right? This is supposedly a Persian/Turkish. I'm probably pissing off somebody's ethnicity. Excuse my westernized ignorance here, but it'd be really cool if they had the accent for it, or at least that was an option, right? Where you could have these guys speaking and they'd be Allah Akbar or whatever they'd be saying, right? Like, that would be way more authentic than right now, where it's, you know, it just kind of sounds like a kind of a bad Hollywood movie where it's, you know, supposed to be the Greeks and they're all speaking with an English accent. No offense to the English out there, but I've always thought that was strange. Of course, the whole Napoleon movie, the whole fucking time. The movie's about you know, this French leader, and he's got all these different characters that have English accents. This is not terrific. But I suppose that's the world we live in, right? Of course, they're designed for a specific audience, and I imagine they wouldn't want people using We are going to have another loss here. I don't have enough troops to dam all these different dikes. So I have no idea why you guys are watching me, right? We're bad, and I'm not helping you guys at all. I mean, maybe we can label today's episode "How to Lose," how not to play Bannerlord here. In fact, I think we'll do the old suicide here at the end of it. Like as soon as we get damaged enough, we'll jump off the wall or something like that. Come get some motherfuckers. I'll take out your fucking brother at least. I think we're going to go to the custom battle. I'm not having a lot of luck finding interesting battles. I mean, maybe that was interesting for people. People see me get my asses kicked here. We will go to the custom battle. I'll fall back on the old standby here. I know a couple people said they wanted to see... Oh, you want to do some voice acting? Right on, man. I would love to hear some voice acting for Bannerlord, especially like I tried the Nemesis mod again. Some of you fellas have probably heard of the Nemesis mod. This is a mod where the lords talk shit to you. They're like, they say all kinds of fucking things, like, you know, much more than what the game normally does. It gives them sort of some personas, although I think it's all RNG. But they'll run up to you and they're like, I'm going to use your skull as a bowl. You know, they yell shit and stuff like that. And it would just be great if there was a lot more. So it's a Turkish company. Thank you. It'd be a lot more interesting if there was more culture to the game, right? It feels, even though it's a Turkish company, it feels very English, right? You have all these characters, and whether they're Aserai or whether they're Khazate or Batanian, they all sound slightly Irish, Welsh. Maybe you guys from the UK would probably know their accents better. It does not sound very international. Let's see if there's any direct requests. I think we'll do a couple village battles. We'll just do a little random. I'll be able to enact some sort of standard tactics in villages. Actually, I want to do a Popsia. I was trying to have a battle there earlier, just kind of fucking around here with this save game. But it wasn't presenting itself as an opportunity. The Western Empire force was going the other direction. But villages are something that I'm very keen on, and I do plan on using villages a lot in the campaign because I think they're a highly underrated aspect of Bannerlord, both for the variety, but also because they're incredibly defendable. There are some villages that I honestly feel are better than castles. So that last castle we fought, we were outnumbered, 5 or 6 to 1. I'm not sure if you could win 5 or 6 to 1 in a village, you know, without having an edge in troop quality. But you can definitely win 3 or 4 to 1, right? You can win battles where it's like, okay, you would definitely get crushed. Let's see, I want a village. You would get crushed if you were literally right next to the village. If you take a step with your little character on the campaign map, again, instead of that, you end up in Popsia, and it's a dramatic difference, right? Let's see, we will play, unless there's a request, I'm just going to play, we'll play Imperials here. And we'll just do one minor clan for both sides. Let's see, who should we fight? Let's fight, I don't know. Let's just fight Valandia. I'm just kind of throwing these out randomly. And usually for custom battles, I do everything except the recruit and no militia. Kind of like a quasi-realistic open field battle. And we will give them, what is it, the boar champion. Now, villages are good for defense. That also means they're hard to attack at, right? If you're attacking somebody and it's in a village setting, I honestly think you're a lot better off just letting them move a little bit, right? You're better off if you're chasing a guy down, right? It's maybe some guy's attacking you or raiding your area, or it's an army you want to destroy that's in your territory, and they have like 600 troops and you have 1,000 and you're going to win. Don't fight them in a village, right? You're going to have a bad day. Villages are good for defense and shit for attacking, right? It's going to be a problem for you. Let's give them an advantage of numbers here. Let's do, I got to have at least one victory here, right? So let's give them 20% more troops than us. We'll do something like that. We should be able to obtain a victory. If I lose this one, maybe I'll just rage quit and you guys will never hear from me again. Make sure I did all these settings right so that's even Steven here, all the same units for both sides. And let's see, that's fine for him, and we'll give them, I don't even know that if they have like a Valandian character. He's I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Here, I guess he looks sturgeon. Fuck it, we'll just move on to this. All right, so Popsia. And it looks really weird to me because I must set it on fall. I actually, like, the more I've been playing lately, I really do feel like I'm not playing at like the highest level of graphics. Oh, well, that's why. Apologies, friends. This whole time I've been playing like on shit. Look at this. Are you serious? Okay, so I did have a crash last night. I was at work and it crashed. So apologies. Some of these battles have been fucking 600 against 400 and shit like that. Sorry for this housekeeping here, but you know, we gotta offer a high quality product. Okay, so how ironic. I did actually fight this siege defense of Samira this morning, and I fought it in like whatever resolution that was. I think it's high resolution. It's just shit quality. So apologies for that. Like it's kind of is what it is now, but that's kind of funny. This whole time I've been wondering. I've been like, how come the landscapes look so plain? Everything looks fucking. Is it like the off season? Is it desert or something like that? And no, I'm just running at the lowest possible graphic settings. Funny. Life is funny like that. Let's get 3 divisions here. We're going to do a little clamping on the enemy. We will have a shock division. This is becoming my sort of go-to formational process. However you develop yours, I would encourage you to do it consistently. And I say that consistently, but it really is important. And I can talk about this for 30 seconds. It's difficult with every kingdom to divide your infantry. If you're the kind of guy that's trying to divide your infantry into 3 different divisions or 4 different divisions, and you want to divide them in a way so that you have shock troops in one division, skirmishers in another division, and regular spear infantry in another. The best, for sure, the best kingdom for that is Britannia, because they have troops that are very clearly defined like that. They have lots of javelin throwers. You see what's going on here with the Empire, and we'll see what happens when I adjust this. We'll see if it pulls the skirmishers out. It did pull some of them out, but I still see some javelins in here, although maybe if I just bump the number up. To get at your configuration, and this is basically the 3 things that I've decided or learned work the best, right? You want to have. So what I do is my first division is spear. These guys are all spear shield. Obviously, some of them have swords. But the main thing I want these guys to do is survive, right? Because you guys see me all the time. I want them squaring. I will square the first division. The third division tends to be my shock troop division. So it's mostly, not entirely, but mostly Monavliatons. And I get that by selecting just this high tier preference, right? Now, it's in combination effect too, because what else is going on here? For this first division, I said give preference to shields and this pole arms. Even though it says pole arms, that also includes spears and stuff like that. You can actually go like that, and you'll sometimes get more Monavliatons in that division. But I go spear and shield for first infantry. I go shield and javelin like this for the 6th. And of course, most of your skirmishers have a shield. And so when you get in here and zoom in on your 6th, of course, I should get these archers out of here so that this is a little easier to see. Most of these guys now, when you zoom in, these guys are mostly skirmishers. Not all. And part of the reason here is that the Imperials, as a lot of you guys know, don't have a lot of skirmishers. I think they just decided the rest of their infantry is strong enough. If they have a bunch of javelins, they're just going to be too powerful. So I think the Valandians might be the only kingdom that has none. I think the Khazaits have very few, and the Imperials are like 3rd for the least amount of javelins they have, right? It's basically, you can call it a weakness or whatever it is, right? It's just a kingdom design. So they don't typically have a lot of javelins. And then for size, I can talk about this briefly here before this battle starts. I'm also trying to focus here so I actually fucking win a battle today. It's egg on my face here if I just lose every battle for streaming. But humility is also good for you. You come back stronger next time, so I'm not too worried about it. So the 3rd corps here you can see now is mostly shock troops. Our general strategy is pretty simple here, right? The AI is very fond of attacking the square. I try to keep these 3rd guys nearby salivating as soon as the enemy envelops the square. The lazy route is just to have this division charge, and they will pretty much envelop a flank of the enemy, and a lot of the enemy will sit there and get slaughtered attacking the square. The better route, if you don't mind micromanaging it, is once the enemy is attacking this, move it the opposite direction of your shock troops. Not way out here. Don't put it, because then these guys will be just chasing it, getting shot by archers. Move it like 20 feet, 30 feet. And what that does is the big blob of enemy that's attacking it then gets totally fucking overwhelmed from behind by these shock troops. Traditionally also, I will then put the skirmishers on the other side. As a lot of guys bring up, most infantry, they're right-handed. So on this side, if you're throwing javelins, it's not going to hit their shield as often. That's something I will do. I'll put the third over here. And then for all kingdoms where they have throwing weapons, this is not the worst time in the world to say hold fire. And it seems weird, hold fire in your infantry. Well, there are some infantry that are shock troops in the game that have a throwing weapon, and it's to their detriment. These guys kill people with their two-handed weapons. You don't want them fucking wasting their time, like whether it's the Romfalias, the veteran Falksmen for the Battanians, or even the Volgiers have this little pitiful throwing axe. Tell those guys to hold fire. That way when they charge, every single one of those guys goes in foaming at the mouth, right? You don't want them wasting their time with those throwing axes. All right, so the trap here. I've had a battle in this exact same village, so some of you guys may have already seen this. I understand there's a limit to how much brand new content I'll be able to pump out. And I'm going to clear all these guys out of the way. I can't see what the fuck's going on here, so I will simply do this 4th, 5th, 2nd, 8th, just basically clearing the deck, because if you can't see what's going on, you can't really position your troops correctly. The enemy's way down the hill here. This is one of the advantages of this map. And this 4th division, full of crossbow. Actually, there's an argument to be said to putting it on a flank because we're going to get charged by cavalry. But unlike that battle where I was trying to kill box earlier, in this battle we actually have cavalry to counter theirs. These guys here, and the advantage, of course, of the crossbow division, they get swarmed or I need them on offense. They can square in a hurry, right? You got a weapon that's instantly turned from defense to offense. So skirmishers over here. I'm going to put the shock troops here, but here's the caveat, right? You either want to put them behind the house or you want to have a cav division guarding these guys. Now you'll observe I have this big horse archer division and this smaller cav division. I definitely want to have a cav division on one of these flanks. In fact, we're going to go like this and just stick a giant fucking cavalry division over here. What this does is it just totally, this is like a blindside blocker in the NFL. I know some of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. It's the guy that protects the quarterback. This is where you put your strongest unit. This side over here, this right side, I don't have to really worry that much about the enemy. Additionally, if for some reason they have a huge amount of cavalry over here, we quickly transition to shield and shock. And all these guys line up behind our cavalry here and destroy any of the enemy cavalry. There's more versatility here, though, than meets the eye. If the enemy doesn't attack over here, when they come in, we simply bring this cavalry and the shock troops in on the enemy as well, right? So there's all kinds of versatility to this setup here. I like to have my units set up beforehand in a static position, and then once the battle happens, that's where all your movement's going to occur. All right, so part of the reason these guys are here also is to block this huge archer division. In fact, it's a massive archer division up here. The 5th. This battle's going to be a massacre. I don't even have to wait. Although, considering we've already lost twice, I probably should have waited. I'm almost certain we're going to win this battle. And here's one other thing you could do. We got a weak side over here, right, with these skirmishers. You could just put horse archers there. Is that optimal? No. They'll get charged by cavalry, but it's still a bunch of fat horse meat in the way, which means our skirmishers here can operate in a level of safety. Additionally, all these guys will shoot, right? They'll stand there and shoot, and they're not amazingly effective at shooting, but they'll do a decent job. Finally, if we really want to protect them, we do this, right? We take our 8th Corps. I haven't even mentioned them. In fact, we'll go ahead and make them the strong cavalry. We'll put them right here, right? You guys know I like to have a really powerful division, an oh shit division. We'll put them there, and then what that does is it's shield and shot, right? It's like I'm making these up as I go, but the enemy charges our cavalry here, or if they have archers, those guys will block a lot of those, and then our horse archers behind them are protected. But suddenly these guys are back here, and they're relatively safe. They're also going to be shooting in here, right? So the plan, of course, is simple. Most of you guys have seen this before. As the enemy infantry comes in, at some point or other, their infantry is going to come in, right? Because we're going to pound them with arrows. Although I didn't actually see. I have no idea what the enemy configuration was. Maybe I did 33, 33, 33. In any case, I'm anticipating the enemy coming in on us because we have a lot of archers. And once the enemy is shot enough, they almost always attack. So the enemy will come in here. We will square the first. We will envelop them with the third. We might even get this cavalry line over here to attack them. We'll probably do some other things to really fuck the enemy up. And this battle, yeah, it should be over quickly. So let's enough foreplay here. I'm stuck in the square. Fucking dipshits, out of my way. And let's see what we got. Yeah, so based on the numbers, they have what I consider basically a completely balanced army, right? They have 1/3 of each. So they've got about 200 heavy cav, 200 or a bit shy crossbow, and about 200 infantry. It's kind of an ordinary army. Oh, I forget, right? So I go from that other character who had decent jab skill to this guy's got horrendous skill. So these cavalry are dumb enough to come in here, right? Any guy that gets stood up, they're going to get obliterated by shock troops. Now, here's a good lesson point. When they're chasing them away like that, don't let them do that, right? Bring them back. If they're chasing them kind of like wildly away, control your guys, right? Tell them, get your asses back here. They will still swing their weapons here, even if they're just standing there, and you want those guys protected, right? You don't want them just kind of running around willy-nilly. Now, what do we got going on over here? The enemy's doing some weird shit. They're kind of breaking up to go around the houses here. It'll be really funny if we lose this battle. This is not a battle we should lose. Of course, I fucked that up already. This infantry division should have been out front. A lot of times when that infantry division is not out front, the enemy will do what they're doing, right? They're like, oh, okay. There's a target over here for us to attack, and they will frankly ignore that first infantry division, which is obviously not what we want. I'm getting stuck on trees. Look at the enemy's totally divided. I imagine this is because of the layout of the city here. Of course, now it's giving me UI difficulties. It's pretty funny. I feel rather cursed at this moment. You guys can enjoy me get fucking worked. Yeah, each time it won't let me position the infantry where I want to, so I'm manually dragging these guys right here. We're trying to persevere despite all this shit. Let's get that third corps brought over here. I'm getting trapped in here too. Our guys are routing. I'm getting killed. All right, now, so in a situation like this, by the way, when this happens to you, if you're in a battle and your commander gets killed and the units get fucked up like this, you have two choices. You can try to divide your units mid-battle, but the better thing to do is just to look at your units as you have them and say, okay, I'm going to do the best I can with these units. This is comical. As soon as I get a guy, he's insta-killed. Is he going to give me a guy here? I don't get killed. Let's see if we can pull this one out of the woodshed. Most of our infantry is destroyed. I'm just going to charge with cavalry. Horse archers, we will kite some back here. We're basically trying to pull the rabbit out of our hat here in an ugly battle. It's a good example, though, about how things can go wrong, right? Obviously, a lot of the problems are occurring now because my main character got insta-killed. Right? This is not typically going to be a thing in your campaign. It might happen when you have some looters and stuff like that, but it shouldn't really be a factor when you have a level 20 or 30 guy, right? Your guy should be capable of surviving a little while. This is basically a ghetto fest here. Trying to pull these guys back. At least the archers have kited back beautifully. So one of the things we could do here, these buildings here, kind of in a oh shit mode, we can use those as cover. Cover from what, right? All their sharpshooters are coming up. In fact, they're smoking this guy. The problem is as soon as this guy gets killed, which is likely, a lot of these formations are going to go to shit. So it's problematic. Let's try using our cav in a square. Those archers are raking pretty good here. These horse archers here will do a pretty good job, although the infantry's boring in on them now too. It's going to be a tight battle. You guys learning a lot today, right? You're learning that this game humbles all of us. Fucking Volgiers. Fucking assholes. And we are getting worked. It reminds me how I've got plans to start the campaign for the Aserai campaign. It basically starts kind of like this, where it's that picture says it all, dude. His eyes are just staring up in the sky. Absolutely happens to everybody. You you just get mauled sometimes. This game is hard sometimes, especially, of course, I wasn't paying close enough attention there. My infantry was out of place, and things went sideways in a hurry. Obviously, this is an ignominious failure on our hands here. So let's just try a random one here. Let's see if I can't just shoot from the hip and have a little success at this stage. I feel like a commander that's close to being sacked, right? Like they'd be recalling me back in disgrace to whatever kingdom I was from soon, saying, you can't win a single battle, dude. No one's following you. All your guys are demoralized. Your career is finished. They'd be quoting Tony G and shit like that. This is just, sometimes part of the game, right? When I play the campaign, when I had the first Aserai campaign, the practice run, we got our ass kicked a couple times, right? And I always try to record those and show you those because sometimes it's just part of the game, right? Sometimes the game surprises you. Sometimes little things happen that are sort of out of your control. Like there, I was just a little careless with some of the position. And then obviously, as soon as my character got knocked down, your formations get all screwed up, and then your plan goes to shit, right? Once your plan goes to shit, if the enemy's just charging in and you're outnumbered like that, you're generally pretty fucked. And that's precisely what happened there. All right, I'm not sure this is going to work well either because we are jammed up against the wall, but I'm intent on fighting out a battle here. I'm one of those guys that, you just persevere. You say, fuck it, let's go, let's keep fighting. So we're going to have another battle here. We'll do another custom battle, and we'll just try to do some basic tactics again. I'm not, none of these episodes am I here to impress people. I'm here to entertain people. I'm here to help people with things they're having a difficulty with. Even the days where I'm losing, hopefully people are learning some things that ordinarily would work, right? This is a little bit like if you're trying to teach somebody how to kick a soccer ball and you're normally pretty good at it, and then you go out and try to teach your kid and it just like it goes absolutely wrong, and your kid quits soccer, right, or whatever, just thinks his dad's a dipshit. This is just part of life, right? We'll persevere and try to continue on here. Let's see what we can do here. So we're pressed up against the back of the map, but I still think if we use our units correctly here, we're still going to be able to give the enemy a nasty beating here. We've got our 1st Infantry Division. These little walls here do sort of slow the enemy down, so that'll make them a little bit harder for the enemy to close in so fast. We'll use our cavalry again defensively. In fact, this kind of a battlefield here, it's so fucking convoluted, I will dismount these guys. I'll put them in a giant long line like this so that there's horses for like hundreds of feet, and then as soon as those guys get there, shield wall, dismount, right? And now I have another infantry division. There's simply not enough room on this battlefield for those guys to operate in an efficient manner. Now these kind of hills here, generally good to take the height advantage, right? You also want to separate your horse archers. That way there's not a big fat fucking horse in the way of your archers. Most of this stuff is elementary. Of course, I say stuff like this in a battle because not everybody knows all these things, right? I have to sort of speak as though I'm speaking to an audience, a diverse audience here. You can't ever be sure that everybody knows each detail. And frankly, there are details that I'm still learning to this day that sort of surprised me about the game. Alright, so a whole bunch of cavalry over there. We're going to put them right in front of our shock troops here. I got to remember, this guy's like insta-kill, right? That's definitely one of the things that hurt us in that first battle. He got just smoked right away, and that was virtually the battle right there. Again, if you have a complicated battle, especially where it's one wave against one wave, and the enemy gains a bunch of momentum because your commander gets smoked, you're dead. Right? That's just all there is to it. This is part of the reason that athletics to me as a commander, especially if you're not going to ride a horse, right? There's guys that, they seem like they're just going to they're going to run around the battlefield and not have 300 athletics, and that doesn't make any sense to me at all, right? You definitely want to have the ability to get away from guys if you're getting mauled. You definitely want to have the ability to fucking escape lethal blows, right? And vitally the hit points. So not all this I've narrated. Most of this should be pretty obvious, right? We're using square or shield and shock over here on this flank, and the rest of it is just an absolute fucking dizzying amount of arrows flying in. The skirmishers are now attacking over here. The shield and shock is going to maul any kind of side units over there, and we will start moving in this shield and shock. Right, I will start effectively moving those guys towards the enemy because I want these sharpshooters to have a target besides my archers. I don't want these guys just smoking our archers at range. Right, your archers will do a pretty decent job. Oh, look at this guy's almost dead. Let's get these guys brought up. And we'll move our horse archers up here because our infantry is starting to close. Now expect serious losses here, right? You're now point blank with sharpshooters. This is a situation where these units need to move in quick. As soon as they're close, you want these guys charging, and preferably you would have cav here. Now, obviously, the only thing I have is my 8th Corps, and I wasn't thinking about them. If you can combine cavalry with this and just kind of knock knock around their crossbow and whatnot, this whole thing would have been way less casualties. But you know, if you can, as long as you can get that press of infantry up there in a hurry, you'll have a decent job of running these guys over. The key here, of course, is just annihilating their infantry with our shield and shock and a square, diversionary square in the middle. And I don't mind proclaiming victory here. It's pretty obvious that this battle's over. They've got a handful of reserves coming up, but this battle is over. In fact, so we're just going to speed on. I'm going to take a look at the chat here, see how many people have left the chat because we lost our first couple battles, and see if there's any requests we can do today. Again, just to update some fellas, I am taking about 10 days off. Hopefully it's not a spoiler for fellas, but the deathmatch campaign is at, we'll call it an indefinite pause. Probably not going to continue it. I hate to say that, but there's a lot to do in life. I've got a lot of requests for a Realm of Throne mods and stuff like that, a Realm of Throne playthrough, various other playthroughs that we'll see if I have time for. If I do have time, of course, I'll be starting those. And some campaigns have to die, right? That deathmatch campaign sort of played itself out. I like a Shakespearean tragedy. I like a story sometimes that goes tragic because it's one of my philosophies on life that things like the sunset or even the life of the average human being is beautiful because it is transient, because it is short. We don't really think about that aspect very much, but if you lived for 80,000 years, I assure you, you would get weary of life. You would get sick of pizza. You would get tired of concerts. You would get tired of living. And it's the fact that a sunset lasts for 15 minutes. That's why it's beautiful and worth watching. So that's just a little philosophy I have. You don't want to have every single campaign or every movie you watch end in victory, because then it's expected, it's sort of boring, it's mundane. I like it when bad guys either succeed or win in movies, or when movies have what we would call a bad ending. I just think that's a positive thing. Please tell me what version you are playing. I am playing, let's see, it's 1.2.8.31530, and there's a couple decimals in there, but 1.28 and then 31530. I'll try to type it in the chat at some point here. Yeah, he's exactly right. Matt, you nailed it. That was a campaign that I embraced a little role-playing. I legitimately played that campaign for a year straight, and what I mean by that is like probably an average of an hour or two a day, playing a lot at work for 365 days, right? So you can imagine hundreds of hours in one campaign, and it was contrived. And some guys tell me they don't know what that word means. Made up is a better word for it, right? That campaign was effectively entirely controlled by me. And what I mean by that is that these other kingdoms wanted peace left and right. They're like, yeah, we want peace. And every time I was like, go fuck yourself. Why? Because we wanted war, right? I wanted an incredibly difficult challenge. For the longest point, I had Sturgia as one of my allies. And eventually I was starting to make ground and starting to take over, even with just Sturgia. So I was like, fuck that. We're going to fight everybody. Plus Sturgia, fucking, as usual, the AI just bugged out. And even though they were being bored into by Khazate, the next thing you know, they're like declaring war on me. So I took it as an insult. I was like, fuck you, and just drove in on them too. But that campaign was a lot of fun, and obviously ended not in defeat so much as destitution, right? I don't want to spoil too much of it, but a point where it'd be difficult to try and recover, right? When you're fighting everybody and they have all these mods and all kinds of Lord retinue up tier to make them stronger, it becomes nearly impossible to win something like that. I've done this before on streams. I apologize if this bores some guys. Some guys are really curious to see this. I'm going to do a reverse slope decline defense here. We'll use the Aserai. A couple components that are essential for this is that the enemy needs to have at least a fair amount of archers and not a huge amount of cavalry. If they have a massive amount of cavalry, this won't work. Now, there's tactics that work for a massive amount of cavalry. We'll show that in another custom battle. But let's do Aserai versus Vlandia here, and we will play the defensive role using a reverse slope defense. Again, I think I went through and did all that. Most of this I do sort of second, like by nature, right? I just do it automatically. I try to do one noble clan for each side and then no peasants. And I don't know if this desert's actually going to have the right layout for it, but we'll give this a shot. We're outnumbered by 20% here, and we'll see if we can pull this off. Hey, bud, you know, I don't know if you've ever told me your name, or maybe I forgot it. Angry Goldfish. I always feel weird calling you an Angry Goldfish. I appreciate that, man, and I know there's a ton of guys that would like to know more about smithing. This is not going to work for it. We're going to choose a different screen here. I know there's a ton of guys that would like to have like an episode of basically someone who's highly experienced at smithing, not so much like the smelting. I think there are plenty of guides out there, but some of the weapons that you've found that are badass in Bannerlord, right? There are no question some builds are better than others, and I guess what I would say by that is how I feel about pole arms. You can choose a stabbing pole arm, that's fine, and they work really well, but my preference for pole arms is a swingable. But most importantly, it's the speed. It's the speed and the length. If you have a really slow pole arm, you get killed, right? Cons guards kill you. You swing your weapon as soon as it's parried, you're a dead man. Or either that or you're parrying and trying to block for your life. If you have a pole arm in the 85 plus speed, you become an absolute wrecking ball, especially if the length is right. You don't want it shorter than about 150. And unfortunately, I don't have any smithing characters. I've had some people say, well, just become a smith and do it all over again. I'm definitely not going through the hours and hours of smelting and stuff like that. So if either you, Mr. Angry Goldfish, I'm just going to give you a name if you don't give me one, but if you want to produce a guide of some badass weapons that you think would be beneficial to people, I would be more than happy either to include it on the channel or highlight it in an episode on smithing. Now, something people have suggested is just use the console to give myself like 300 smithing skill. I think there's some commands you can do that. We may do that at some point, but if you're willing to step up, bud, I would love it. Because there's a lot of smithing questions. It's astonishing how many people want to know, what axe is that? How do I get that axe? And of course, unfortunately, every time I'm like, I don't even have the save games. It was so long ago, right? I had this character who was my original character in the campaign. That guy's literally long dead, and I have no ability to tell you what that is, much less give you the ingredients for it. So. All right, so let's focus on this for a second here. Hard to think of 9 different things at once, even though that's what I'm trying to do. So I want my cav divisions actually pretty similar sized here because we're definitely going to try to block the flanks. Forgot who we're fighting. It's Vlandia, so I can expect plenty of heavy cavalry. I don't actually remember the army makeup, but we're still going to run this same configuration. Reverse slope defense, so we're focused on our archers here. And I have 47 some horse archers. That's going to help, of course, our javelin. Cav is going to help. In fact, let's try to use our Jav Cav. Let's make one of these Cav divisions Jav Cav. You get that just by selecting that, right? And now every single guy in that division should have, or almost every single guy in that division should have javelins. And you're saying, why would you do that? Just put them all together. This is why, right? You can go 8th Corps full of guys with javelins, right? And a layer about 2 deep. You don't want to do this because then the guys at the back usually don't throw or they can't hit accurately. 2-3 deep at most. And then what I'll do with the other cav, a lot of those guys don't have javelins. We'll put them in front. Those guys are the meat shields. Those guys are there to slow down the enemy. These dipshits, these guys that are just off the farm. You can see there's a few javelins in here. But these guys here, their job is basically to take a spear in the face, right? They're the proverbial cannon fodder. And then those guys in front, obviously, are there to fire the javelin in the face of that now stopped, standing still enemy, right? So the Aserai, this is going to be really fun with my campaign. This is incidental, by the way. I just chose them because it's a desert scene here. They have tons of javelins, and javelins are like my fucking favorite. Javelins to me are really powerful in the game compared to many other different units, and hopefully in this Aserai campaign we can illustrate that. So I do have a shock division, so this is going to be a little unorthodox. I'm actually coming up with a little bit different process. I'm going to use the horse archers highly aggressively early on. We're going to dump arrows into them, then we're going to bring them back and turn them into defensive cavalry. So a lot of moving parts here. I'll try to explain it all. The 7th horse archers here, hopefully I don't get those units confused. The 8th Corps, that's going to be my Jav Cav. In fact, we'll give them just a few more. And away we go. Now, reverse slope defense. It's vital that you get to your slope that you're defending, right? You can see the slope there. In fact, I'll speed this up a little bit. If you can't get to the top of this fucking desert slope before the enemy does, it's not going to work, right? The key to this whole strategy is pounding the enemy as they come over this ridge. Now, the sharper the ridge, the better. Now, they've got some heavy cav here, so what are we going to do here? I just told you we got those horse archers. Fuck these guys. These guys are sacrificial. Unfortunately, and I know it's a little bit of a spoiler, I don't like the Aserai horse archers. My units are getting fucking tied up on each other here. I think the Aserai horse archers are kind of dog shit. They are versatile. They're kind of jack of all trades, but I don't find that actually very, very good for the game. I find for Bannerlord, I would prefer to have experts in their fields, right? Whether it's Britannian Fiend Champs, you see our our horse archers that I don't like are getting skewered. In fact, I gotta be careful not to get skewered here. I forget how easy you can die in this game. We'll put our cav here, the 2nd cav in front, the 8th cav behind them. And again, if you're not sure how they're lining up, just hold the numbers, right? It shows you kind of, oh, okay, I'm a little off. Right, that's an important step in the game. Now that cav has broken up their line, I want to bring them back, right? I don't need to suicide all those guys. And it's also time to get our infantry pushed up here. We've got 3 divisions. I've got this shield and shock division, right? So we now have the 2nd cav over here. The 8th cav is behind them. I see a lot of our horse archers dying on the other side, right? Those guys are sacrificial, and it may cost us this battle, right? I definitely lost like 30 units, and don't forget we're outnumbered in this battle, right? They have something like I want to say they have 100 more units than us. I'm not entirely sure, but we've got this 3rd division, right? So we're going to pull the remaining of those horse archers. Well, there aren't any. Whoops, never mind. We won't be pulling any of those horse archers. I annihilated the whole division. All right, so Valandian cavalry is just pouring in. The infantry will be right behind those guys, and they're going to carve a path through your troops, right? So what you want to do here is you want to start bringing your infantry back in a square, bring your shield and shock to the side. In this case, I'm actually putting skirmishers behind them. You can see the Valandian forces here going crazy. Now, this 3rd Corps, they're sent in, but what did I tell you before? Hold fire, right? I want these guys bellowing. I want these two-handed guys going in here with fucking mean effect. The skirmishers, we can actually put behind the enemy. Right? You can see what's going on there. That way, they're not impeded from throwing their javelins by some guy in their way. And it's not a complete massacre, but it's bad. Right? The enemy is trying to get their archers up, but the AI does a really lousy job in situations like this of getting their archers over the ridge, and that's why it works. All of our archers are back here having a fucking field day. The only thing that's running through them is the enemy's horses, right, that are being shot and destroyed. Okay, so the enemy appears like this right in front of you. Don't let them. Just bring your cavalry right to the edge here. I told the 8th Corps, come with me. Right? Now, I'm not going to drag them all the way into the enemy's units there. Or that's going to happen. These guys are so delicate. All right, tell everybody to stop. And sometimes it gives you a character who's literally right in the act of being cut down. All right, so everybody stop. you get in a situation like this, the biggest thing is if you had your formation set up before, it makes sense that they should be fine still, right? So we want these guys basically holding ground and then try to bring your units back, right? It's another situation where these, especially the custom battle characters, have fucking paper armor. I mean, that was like a quarter of the damage that this, like your character, your character would suffer maybe a quarter of his health. This guy's just insta-killed, right? So the cavalry, we will charge this first division. It's now cavalry. The unit, the PC or whatever, the AI completely fucking changed our units around. At least they gave me a decent character. These guys are solid. But the main function, the main idea of this strategy is their archers aren't shooting. Not a lot of them are shooting anyways. And most of yours are, if not all of yours, right? So all these guys here at the back that are standing there, those guys are worthless. Meanwhile, all the guys that are at the front here for the... What I should be doing probably is just sitting at the back, or even doing this, right? This is the safest thing, because then you don't lose control of your units. And obviously, our archers are shooting up, and they have nothing but targets to shoot at. Meanwhile, the enemy has to come over this ridge to shoot, and on top of that, you can harass them, right? We could send even horse archers, right? Just send them right in their face. It doesn't matter, right? Just get guys in their face. This infantry guys are dead now. But anything you can send in their face will basically disrupt them, and your archers should do work. Now, obviously, this battle, kind of like that battle 2 or 3 battles ago where my commander got killed and immediately the AI does dipshit things with your units. That's a real problem with the PC, not with the PC, with the custom battle menu. But this is not a problem with your campaign, unless you're running around with a character with no armor for some reason or something like that. And we might even lose this battle. I don't have enough disruption on their crossbow here to stop them. In fact, I'm just going to speed this up. Do this shit all over again because I can. You get in situations where your commander gets killed like that. Unfortunately, the AI is just so dysfunctional that you can have a battle where you're definitely going to win and you will instantly lose it because of a situation like that. Let's just do one Gulcha Wastes. This one is like a virtual guarantee. Actually, I got an idea. I've wanted to do this. It is... See if I can remember what it's called. Yeah, I think this one is this one is up near Diathma, of course, the plain. We will try to do the exact same strategy again here. Glance at the chat. I've got about 15 minutes before I got to go. But any situation like that where your commander gets knocked down and all of a sudden your plans basically get exploded, right? The AI does the absolute worst things. If you ever watch them, it's unbelievable. They do... It's almost like they're suicidal. If you're in a situation where you have tactics set up and you get knocked down, right, and you have all your units ordered and everything looks great and you're about to declare victory and you get killed, in seconds, and I mean milliseconds, your archers charge, they hold fire and charge, or they seem to rout almost. They run sideways almost off the battlefield. Your commander, your cavalry will all of a sudden just run around like they're short-circuited, like orcs after Sauron was killed. It's astonishing how bad it goes and quickly. So what's the moral to that, right? Make sure your commander has survivability, especially at vital times in a battle, right? I've said that before on episodes. If you have to choose between fighting or commanding, always command, right? It's almost never going to be more beneficial to your army to fight than it is to command. Maybe if you're controlling 40 or 50 guys, that's different, right? Because you as a player can make a dramatic difference. But if you're commanding 500 troops like this, always command first. Now you can see we've got all kinds of ridges to play with. In fact, we'll try this one down here just for fun. In fact, let's get this shit going here. Don't want to waste too much of your time. 4 or 5. Get the fuck out of my way. I am going to run a camel mod for the campaign. It's going to be kind of fun, but I'm going to play around with it a little bit more because my early exposure to it, it's a little uncomfortable. First, the camel still can't jump, which I'm not thrilled about. I like being able to jump as a cavalryman. Maybe that's unrealistic, but it's a lot more fun. The other thing is that some of the high-powered camels seem like absolute war tanks. I mean, I was riding around on one with like 250 riding skill, and this fucking camel was doing like, I want to say it was doing like 40 or 50 damage to everybody. It was just mauling everybody, which is cool. That's kind of fun. It's sort of revenge on the really weak camel that the vanilla game has. but it's highly unbalancing, right? I want this future Aserai campaign to be really difficult, and obviously if the camel's just fucking laying waste to the enemy, this is quite the opposite, right? It'd be like having a totally overpowered Aserai force. I'm gonna drag the 8th corner here this time. Fuck you. We're gonna charge with our shield up, dragging the 8th corps to basically just counter all these fucking heavy cav, trying to kill our commander and disrupt our strategy. If it was PvP, that would be a great strategy, right? You just drop their commander early on, and then all their units run around haywire. It'd be nice if there was an option with RTS, and maybe there is, maybe I'm just ignorant, where when your player gets dropped, where everybody just doesn't do a thing. In other words, they stay in the same position, they don't change their orders, all their units basically continue doing what they were doing. That would be far suboptimal to what is the case right now, where it's like immediately the AI takes charge of your units and it's just an absolutely disgrace. All your units start running around like they're fucking drunk. Their current form is just an absolute disaster. Right? Let's fuck this infantry up. Come on, charge our fucking square there, boys. We've got some nice skirmishers waiting for you over here. We'll charge you bitches with some heavy cav. I'm getting angry here losing these battles. You guys have never seen the Tactical Enlightenment or the Jarl. My name is William, but it always seems weird to run around and be like, hey, you've never seen William mad. You've never seen me mad, fellas, and you don't want to see me mad. I'm one of those guys with way too much testosterone, and when I'm mad, I'm a fucking holy terror. It's just like fucking bloodshed. Some guys are like, oh, you should be a general of a real army. Fuck no. You want to see like a Pol Pot second version? You want to see like a genocide? You put me in charge of an army and you watch my tyranny over the world. It would be a disaster. I'm a big belief that most of the time, for most people, they simply can't handle power. What I mean by that is power just gets to everybody. If you get people who have, like Napoleon even, have noble or altruistic ideas, and then you put them in power and you give them absolute power. And what I mean by that is Napoleon, of course, eventually became effectively a totalitarian dictator. It's fucking over. These guys' ego will take over. They will do horrific shit. And the next thing you know, you get exactly what happened, where he couldn't be reasoned with at the end, and he fought France into a 60-year period of decline. And here I go again, getting mauled. I don't know if I kill this battle. So here I go on Tyrant and gonna get shot off my second horse. Ordinarily, of course, you would just wait. All these are archers. We had just destroyed their cavalry. We had destroyed their infantry. You wouldn't charge, right? You'd let these guys come to you. Anytime you're doing a reverse slope defense, you just wait, right? It's all about patience. Most of you guys by this stage have seen the reverse slope defense. In fact, I have an episode that I don't think I'm going to release on the reverse slope defense. It's about an hour long. It covers reverse slope defense from a number of different angles. But I think we have so many different angles and so many episodes that cover this strategy, I don't think I'm going to bother. I worry sometimes about fatigue. You guys seeing 80,000 episodes. And if I cover something that seems so redundant like the reverse slope defense, I definitely worry that guys will get a little bit fatigued, right? Try to keep things fresh on the channel. Of course, you guys can always object. By the way, this chat, undoubtedly, there's been 100 messages that I would love to respond to that I will try to get to at the end of this session, which is going to be soon, fellas. I've got to get running here soon. We're wrapping up this battle here, even with a snafu and a tyrannical, reckless commander here. We're still able to skewer these Valandians. But I will try to answer some questions here at the end. And also, please comment on the actual live link itself. These will be visible right away. The live video itself, as soon as I'm done streaming, it basically becomes the same as if I published an episode. And of course, other guys can see those comments. We can reply to comments. The live questions, the live things are only up while the stream is live, at least unless someone wants to correct my ignorance here. That's how it's designed. It's designed so that that guy got fucking dropped from his horse right in front of him. It's no use. Yeah, no shit. Those questions are only there briefly, right? Once I close the link, none of that's visible anymore. So with that said, I'm going to actually wrap this up. I'm trying to... My other computer just fucking went black screen on me, of course, as soon as I want to answer some chat. What I can do here is we'll just go to, we will X out to this menu here, and I think I can drop down to the chat menu and answer any questions. What's the best infantry and cavalry? So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to do a lot of this via voice. Best infantry, of course, I've covered on the channel. I think the Aserai veteran infantry and the Battanian wildlings are the best. Not because they're the best F1, F3, just charge and rock and roll, and they're going to get you victories in battle. But because if you use tactics, if you use kiting, if you use flanking, like you guys should be, they're by far the most versatile units. Of course, the Aserai veteran infantry are good just F1, F3. They do a pretty good job of just charging. By the way, absolutely, the Drudzinic champions, I think that's how they're pronounced, they are fantastic shield infantry. I've never really done a lot of testing, but I have had plenty of battles, especially when I was playing Sturgia, where I had 60 of them in tight quarters, pulled them off their horses, and they just plowed the road. I've never really tested them like in great detail. I'm sure they're going to get destroyed by Battanian Fiend champs and stuff like that. But I would bet they fucking whip ass on Legionnaires and things like that. I don't know for sure, but they are a whole tier above them. That'll be an interesting thing to test. Best cavalry is for sure the Consguards and the Ferris, right? If we're just talking the spear cavalry, honestly, I think they're all about the same. What I mean by spear cavalry is your Banner Knights, your Imperial Elite Cataphracts. They have subtle differences. I think Banner Knights are better at charging, and the Cataphract are better at just straight melee and stuff like that. There's very subtle differences, but I think they're all the same. The Ferris and their ability to circle the enemy, throw nasty javelins. They have 5 javelins. They have extremely high throwing skill, and they're decent with their spear and shield. I think they're outstanding. And of course, the Consguards need no introduction, right? Almost everybody agrees they're one of the top 2 units in the game with the Fiend champs. They're just outstanding cavalry. Other infantry, right? Most of the shock troops are pretty similar. I don't really want to get deep into the minutia on whether the line breakers are better than the palace guards. I think they're all really good. The elite Manavletons are really good in their own effect. I definitely like shock troops. I think shock troops are highly underrated. They're just devastating if, again, used correctly. If you have shock troops out in the open, they're just absolutely fucking dead men. But if you're using them well, or at least you have a nice big infantry block full of shields in front of them, I would definitely be recruiting a lot of shock troops in your army, right? 50% is not too much. If you have 300 infantry or 200 infantry and 90 of them are line breakers, I think that's just fine. Of course, I would mix in some skirmishers too, but if you're playing like Sturgia, you don't have skirmishers. You don't have foot skirmishers, right? You have the cav skirmishers, and by the way, those guys are good units too, right? The hardened brigand and whatever, the tier 5 and tier 4, right? Tier 5 and tier 4 sturgeon horse archers, pretty good, right? Just like the Battanian javelin, which by the way, it's a bit of a little bit of a teaser, a little bit of a what do they call it? A spoiler is a better word for it. I have an episode coming up on what I consider the best overall kingdom in the game, and I kind of gave it away with some of those. Most of you guys probably already know who I think that is. Now, it's hardly definitive, but for my style of play, and hint, right, they have outstanding range units. They're to me the most powerful kingdom. If you use tactics correctly, especially against the AI, you just absolutely mangle everything in sight. And I think it's probably the best army for a relatively new player, because once you do some shield and shock and or squares with ranged units, it's good night, Irene, right? It's pretty much over. Now, anybody, of course, who saw the episode I released earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, about the Khazate, boy, if you can micromanage, the Khazate are unbelievably powerful as well. I stared at my own computer screen at some of the casualties or lack thereof when I played the Khazate. There's no question that the double quiver horse archers are overpowered. They could do subtle things, just like the Battanian Fiend champs. They could make small things to balance them. But the horse archers with 60 arrows, it's just totally overpowered if you're controlling them right? If you have them bottled up or they're in a tight quarters, they're not that strong. But in the open field, and I suppose that's how they're designed, they are completely overwhelmingly powerful. Oh yeah. Matt, I've mentioned that before on the channel. The Valandian castles and city defenses. Now I will say this: their castles are actually good for defense. We've had some good. I say we, the royal we. I used to say we a lot because I was actually conversing a lot with a professor's assistant from the University of Washington. He was a history buff. Him and I on a couple of channels became good friends, and we were talking a lot about tactics and battles. And when I first started this channel, he was doing all kinds of recommendations. He was saying, "Hey, you need to cover the Battle of Cannae. You need to cover this battle, this tactic." Now today it's more the royal we, right? We don't have as much contact. When I say we, I'm more referring to our army. But we've definitely covered Valandian cities, and they're just not that good. That's the bottom line. If I had to choose one kingdom where the cities are the worst, it would be Valandia, just no question. Khazate has some not so good cities to defend as well. And actually the Imperials, some of their cities are really bad as well because they're really jammed up. And this is also probably a future episode, or more than likely a future series. I will try to cover at this stage what I consider are the best and worst castles and or cities for each kingdom. There are some unbelievably powerful castles. You guys all know what I think of Veron Castle. If you've never heard of Veron, Veron Castle, it's just unbelievably powerful. And of course, something like 15 of the castles in Bannerlord for the Imperials are designed on the same setting as Veron Castle. That's probably the strongest castle, just how the AI attacks. It's just highly destroyable. But there are also some castles and cities that are just complete dog shit. There's nowhere to maneuver. There's nowhere to set up archers on the flanks. There's nowhere for you to position units except on the walls. And so if you're outnumbered, you get shot to pieces. There's no question. But that's, the Ox Hall stream. Now we did, I think we were successful, but there's no question. That's a terrible city, right? There's just, what it is it's lazy design. There's fucking buildings in the way. And I don't know if the Valandians are overpopulated, too much fucking. Amitatis is one of the best. I would say, Matt, that Amitatis is probably, if I had to rate the cities, it would be top 5 without even thinking about it. No question, Amitatis is outstanding. Tons of space to move around, tons of space for your archers. It even has the random nature of it. Some cities just have random explodable fire, Greek fire, or whatever they're fucking called. Amitatis, if I was making a defense or a capital for the Imperials today, definitely that would be my capital of choice, right? I would start stockpiling food, and I would just know that we could defend against the whole fucking world at Amitatis. Anybody who saw the Helm's Deep, right? I labeled it Helm's Deep, where I played with the Strength and AI mod and had that insane battle against, 11,500 or something. We almost won that shit, and I want to say we had 700, 800 troops. Amitatis is just unbelievable, right? It's just a complete killing machine for the enemy, right? If you're defending Amitatis. All right, so I will take a closer look at all the questions. I want to thank you, fellas. This is amazing to me that this channel has grown this much. I really had no idea. Of course, some of you guys have been with me since the beginning, right? And I really appreciate all the guys that have been with me, whether it's been for the entire last year. And by the way, we're coming up on a year. I think I started publishing I want to say near Halloween last year, or October 31st, if you don't know the date of Halloween. So we're about a year now. And it looks like there's 50 guys that watched today's stream. I wish there weren't so many. I fucking played like a dipshit today. But like I said before, I'm also not worried about that. You guys aren't here to see me fucking, well, maybe you are. You guys aren't. I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm here to help people with Bannerlord. There's a long line of teachers in my family. It's an ironic mix. One half of my family line, there's a long line of teachers, and then the other half, there's a long line of military commanders. I've got a Mustang colonel grandfather, and I had a commander uncle, etc. So my teaching family side mixed with the military side, and evidently it makes me someone who's good at teaching the military and tactics. Anyways, I appreciate you fellas. I wanted to definitely emphasize that. Thanks so much for all the support you've given the channel over the last year. For those wondering, I have began the monetization process. at this stage, mostly just to sort of cover some of the costs of running the channel. I pay $20 for a music subscription site. I pay $15 for video editing, etc. There's some costs associated with it, not to mention buying microphones and shit like that. But it's also what I would consider low-level capitalism. I'm monetizing like every, I want to say 8th or 6th episode or something like that. I want to apologize for the ads, but at this stage, that's just how it is. Part of the reason I started to monetize is that Google was monetizing anyway for me. I got emails from them. I didn't realize it because my account had like 700 emails. Basically, Google saying, we reserve the right to email. Or not email. We reserve the right to monetize. We're going to put ads on it. Like, I didn't realize that they could just advertise on my content without my permission. But once I learned that, it was like, well, I might as well start collecting some of it if they're going to just crank commercials as well. And the other thing that's happening is some of the producers of the music that I've included, justifiably, they want to have ad revenue when their music is used for videos, and they evidently have some algorithmic ability to have commercials as well. So I personally hate commercials. That's why if it sounds like an apology, it is a little bit. I don't like commercials. But until I kind of figure out an easier way to generate a little bit of income to pay for some of the expenses of the channel, that's kind of what we're doing. Long term, we shall see whether or not we the royal we again, whether or not the channel continues to grow or whether it kind of flatlines. You guys all lose interest with the old timer, or I'm just off in Europe checking out castles with my wife. But in the short term, I'm having a lot of fun with this. Winter is coming. By the way, that's part of the reason I chose an Aserai campaign in the Pacific Northwest. If you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like England all winter. It fucking rains and it's cloudy and the sun comes out for half an hour every other day. So I'm very happy to have artificial sunlight streaming through my computer monitor in the Aserai campaign, right? I'm going to crank the temperature in my room to 95 and throw some sand on the keyboard and pretend like I'm on vacation. So I appreciate you fellas again. I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks again for tuning in today. Hopefully the next stream we don't butcher three or four battles out of the 6 or whatever it was. The Aserai campaign is coming up soon. I'm very excited. I've got some fun ideas. Do a little bit of role playing, but mostly we're just going to try to wreck shop with tactics. So I appreciate you fellas again, and I'm going to hit this little button that says end streaming, and I will see you fellas